Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Stacey, for this. I was asked to come and share some insights on my career path, as well as some of the things that I'm currently working on with Burton, with AASI, and other areas of the industry. But first, I wanted to start by saying thank you very much for this opportunity. I am honored and I'm humbled and a little bit nervous to be up on this stage. Everybody who's up going to be coming and talking is an amazing individual, and of course, as all are you, because introducing winter snow sports to people is a pretty special gift. When you get to see that moment where it clicks, especially in a kid's eyes, it's just like magic. I've had a lot of passion for the sport for a long time, but it wasn't always that way. I grew up as a young kid in Denver. My mom was a pretty enthusiastic skier. So she decided that at 3 years old, she was going to take me out to learn how to ski. Went to Winter Park. There might have been a fit, might have been a bit of an epic fail. Full disclosure, that wasn't actually the Winter Park Lodge. Apparently, she says that there were plenty of opportunities to take photos of me throwing a fit as a kid. So anyway, there might have even been tears on that day. But my mother is a patient woman. So she waited about 3 years, decided to try again. This time she was going to sweeten the pot. Threw in a full kit. And who could say no to those sweet yellow Reichley boots? I was hooked. I was ready to go out. Didn't matter that there was no snow. So I got fully into it. Got to the point where I was going up every weekend to Copper as a Copper chopper. It was a great program, except I progressed to a point where they put me onto the pre-ski team, which is fine and dandy, except for the fact that, for those of you who do know me, you know that I have a pretty significant case of ADD. So repeating the same thing over and over again and having to wait your turn to do that wasn't working out so good. So around that time, somebody gave me a skateboard. I got fully immersed in skateboarding. And one day, I started flipping through pages of Thrasher magazine, and I saw an ad for Burton Snowboard. It was the only thing I asked for Christmas that year. And lo and behold, an Elite 150 was under the tree. So my focus shifted. I became a full-on snowboarder. And by the time that I got to college, all I wanted to do was ride every day. And I talked about it to anybody that would listen. And one person looked at me and said, hey, you know, you could get a free pass if you go up and teach people how to ride. I was like, I'm in. Sign me up. I'm on my way. So sure enough, I did. But I realized that when you're 18 and working part-time teaching lessons, you're really not making much money. So my supervisor said, you know, if you go and you get certified, you can make more money. So I went out, got my associate cert, because in case you haven't realized it, I'm pretty old, and there was no level 1, 2, and 3 at that point. Came back, high-fived my supervisor, said, all right, I'm on my way. And he's like, well, you do realize that there is another certification level. You can make even more money if you do it. I said, I'm in. Started studying harder for my full cert exam than I did for any of my college classes. Parents weren't very stoked on that one, but it was sending me down a career path. So at age 20, came to Vail with the crew from Purgatory, got my full cert. Everybody went into the bar afterwards to celebrate and drink, and I had to sit outside and wait for them to be done because I was still too young to go in and have a beer. So eventually college ended, and I wasn't ready to give up the dream of living and being a snowboarder full time. So I sold all my stuff, convinced my roommate that we needed to move to Whistler. Forgot to check out the fact that in Canada, you either need to be a Canadian, you need to be married to a Canadian, or you need to have a skill nobody in Canada has to have a job. I didn't have any of those three. So I decided after that it was time to go back, head tucked down a bit, and get a real job, put my degree to use, which made my father happy. But after about 3 months of wearing a tie every day, I realized it wasn't going to happen. So I quit that job, got a job running a snowboard shop in Lakewood, which led me to running another shop for them, opening it up in Steamboat, where I met my future wife. And then we went to Park City, did a shop for them there. And everything was going great, except my wife is from New Hampshire and decided that she was done living in the West, wanted to be close to her family, wanted to go to grad school. I slyly thought, okay, I can make this work. Told her that if she got accepted to UVM, I'd be willing to move to Vermont, because at least I had a shot at staying in the industry. So she got her acceptance letter, I started cussing, we started packing, and eventually we made our move to Vermont. But it worked out all right, because I ended up with a job at Burton. Been there for knocking on 19 years now. But the nice thing is that I had that instruction and rental background, so I was able to help develop the LTR products and programs from the ground up, which has been great. But at the same time, I still was loving being involved with teaching people how to ski and ride. So I became an examiner for the Eastern Division, and I also became a member of the AASI national team. How the rest of those guys got on the team, I don't know. They're a bunch of hoodlums, but it was a good crew. We had a good time, and I'm still very thankful that I get to stay involved with the organization at the level that I do. But while I was doing all this, some things were happening back at Burton. People were starting to have babies. And snowboarders are pretty passionate, skiers are too, and they wanted, first and foremost, how are we going to get our kids out on the hill? So that brought about a lot more support for developing of kids' products, which worked great, because all of a sudden there was momentum, people were willing to spend some time and effort on it, and I wasn't immune. This is my daughter at 2.5. That was her very first run ever. So she became one of the key test dummies. She doesn't like that term, but I still use it, for going out and trying the kids' product that we were developing at the time. And she's now 11, her sister is 9, and they still help test a lot of the products. At the end of this run, you'll see her point. I'm pretty convinced she wants to go back and take another run up the magic carpet. My wife's convinced she wants hot cocoa. We just let that one lie. So, as we were developing all these kids' products, we started talking about what else needs to happen. And we realized that it was more than just products. It was an important part of the puzzle, but there was more to it. So we started looking at the approach of teaching, and we opened the Burton Academy, and the whole concept of sculpting terrain and aiding in that learning process. And we continued refinement and development of products. We also decided to change the environment. Riglet parks, stash parks, all of these things really made it so that kids wanted to be involved and get their hands in the mix. This is from Loon, New Hampshire, the grand opening of their Riglet Park and Little Stash Park.
First time. It's the best that I've ever been to.
Oh, how long have you been snowboarding for?
3 years.
Right yet?
3 years, eh?
More gray than brown, more lost than gross, more tired than you've been in your life, old dog. That pain you hide with your buried bones, you're so wild, but you gotta lay down, old dog.
That was a pretty cool event. It was fun. Lots of kids got stoked, and it's continuing to happen. And Loon has had very successful growth in their youth snowboarding because of the implementation of this product and program. But all of these things have one major flaw. They're all very reliant upon people going to the resort. So we decided we need to do something. We need to break that. We developed a program working with some nationally recognized PE teachers where we could go into schools and use snowboarding as a PE course and introduce little kids to the sport of snowboarding. Broke down the barriers, didn't need snow. Broke down the barrier, the kid has to learn to ski first. Broke down the barrier, the parents didn't have any money. The kids were actually able to go and experience snowboarding. This is the very first one we ever did. It was a school right on the outskirts of Burlington. We had a bunch of instructors from Smuggler's Notch and from JP come down to help us run it. The program's evolved significantly since then. There's a lot of man hours put into setting this up and executing it, but we knew from that first day that we were onto something. There are now PE programs going on around the globe, and It's incredible to see how that's taken hold and continued. We also knew that we needed to expand the exposure of the sport, and we went to unlikely places. Central Park in the middle of summer with a bunch of resorts. Set it up, people would walk by like, what is going on? And boom, hook their kids, give them something that looks like they're playing around. The kids have fun, the parents are like, maybe we should think about that. The other one, that's from a Oakland A's game where we partnered with Sierra Tahoe and did a baseball-themed Riglet Park, one of their games. And we've got more of those coming up, and we've done them in other venues as well. And it's just cool to get people thinking about it where they wouldn't normally expect to see it. We also work with the industry. Actually, tomorrow I will be sitting on a panel in Steamboat at the NSAA conference talking about the growth of snowboarding and what can be done from an industry level. And then we continue to develop products that help the learning process become easier. This is the handlebar. We introduced this last year, and it's an amazing tool to help kids in that learning process. That's my daughter. She got better. But we've also expanded our reach outside of North America. I've been going over to China for about 10 years now. I've personally taught hundreds of Chinese resort workers how to teach snowboarding. I've written a manual for them. I put together a video. This is a screenshot from the video. And we filmed at a little resort called Jundashan, right on the outskirts of Beijing. Talk about a feeder resort. You got 30 million people, and this resort is 45 minutes from downtown. It's insane, and they embrace the feeder mentality. Really focused on guest service, and actually they bring over instructors from Vail, Beaver Creek, and Aspen to help train their staff and run clinics and actually teach some of their clients. We keep doing Riglet events. This one happens to be in front of our flagship store in Tokyo. Unexpected places, people seeing snow, getting kids involved. Anybody who's got kids knows when your parents, or when your little kid starts pulling on your sleeve saying, Daddy, Mommy, I want to do that, you can only take so much of that before you cave. We feed on that. This one is in Moscow. We set it up in a park in the city. Moscow may be hacking our computers, but we're hacking their kids' minds. This is a new one that just came around in the last month. Somebody from the FIS reached out to me and said, we've seen this PE program that you guys have been working on. We've seen the outreach that you're doing. We think you're onto something really cool. We want to be involved. We've got this big international event we're doing on January 15th. Can we put something together? I was like, you do realize this is the end of December. He's like, okay, how about for next year? I was like, done. So we're working with them to get 300 PE kits, hopefully, if it all goes well, out internationally to different schools to be passed around to help as a build-up and a ramp-up for next year's version of this. So to bring it all back together, the end goal for myself and my position at Burton and all the people I work with is to get more kids out on snow, because if the kids are there, chances are they're going to go as a family. Because the last time I checked, driving age was still 16. Little Johnny, all of them can't get to the mountain on their own. So if we can get the families together and get out on the mountain together, then as an industry, we're all in a better place. And that means we will all be more viable. So this video kind of summarizes all of that. So thank you to all of you for what you do. The passion you share with your guests every day is amazing, and it's critical. It's very important. I appreciate it. I got to go out on the hill with some of the crew today and always have a great time here. So anyway, thank you much, and hopefully I'll see you guys all at the Open.